Hello to all of my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, new fans, and fans of my guest. I have another great guest on my 39th Talking Machine show. As you know, I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine, and here is my great guest. Will you please tell us your name?
My name is Joe Block. Anything else?
No, that's it, because this is my show. I know you on TV and radio, and you do very well. He's the Pittsburgh Pirates broadcaster. And Joe, how long have you been here?
7 years now.
Unbelievable. I remember when you first started, when you came here, because you have a familiar name. I worked at the Post-Gazette and Press for 36 years, and the Block family owned the Post-Gazette, Sun Telly, and other newspapers across the company. I met Bill Block, the grandfather of the people that own the Post-Gazette now, and he was a great gentleman and cared about his employees. So I was hoping you'd be related, but we talked pre-show. Tell them.
No relation, as you could probably tell by the way I dress. I don't have enough money like maybe they have passed down through the generations.
That is very true. I appreciate having a humble broadcaster on here today, and he lives in Bethel Park, and my camera guy, Nick, told me, Joe said he knew who I was. So now I said, put him on the show. That's what gets you on the show. So all of my 4,700 plus friends on Facebook and thousands other, just say, you know, Al, you can come on.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up, Joe?
So I grew up in outside of Detroit, Michigan.
I love Detroit. Yeah. One of my favorite baseball players had a name like mine, Al Kaline.
Oh, yeah. And I got to meet him before he passed away a couple of years ago, and he was a Tigers broadcaster when I was growing up.
I had his baseball card.
Oh, that's neat.
I might still have it in my shoebox of cards.
You still have the shoebox?
Yeah. Well, I had 5 of them, and it's a sad story. My sisters would go to flea markets, and I was like 18, 19 years old. I'd buy them stuff to sell, and I come home the one day, and I have 1 box of cards left. They sold all of them,
wow.
And luckily I had a Mickey Mantle, but I had all the original Pirates with Roberto Clemente, Stargell, Al Oliver, you name it, and they were all gone.
Oh, wow.
So I was heartbroken, but I still kept some cards. I even had a Mickey Mantle I sold a few years ago for $600.
Wow, that's great.
And Joe, I used to flip cards, so that's how I got all my cards. I'd buy the bubble gum, but the majority of my cards were flipping. I was good at it.
Yeah.
So that's my claim to fame. But I love Detroit. I was also there when I was a young kid because our union had a baseball team, International Typographical Union, that played in Detroit when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it was so cool. I got to go to the stadium that Al Kaline played in.
That was a great place, Tiger Stadium. That's where I went to my first games as a kid.
You're kidding. I figured we could relate to that.
Yeah, and that's where I fell in love with baseball.
I was going to ask. Yeah. And how old were you when you fell in love, do you think?
Well, the Tigers won the World Series when I was 6, but I was still a little bit young to kind of understand.
I figured around 8 or 9. Like around 8 is when I started getting into that.
Yeah, I started following, for anyone that pays attention to the Pirates games, that, I started paying attention to the box scores and the stats, and really that really got me into it. And my
Did you play it all?
Not well.
That's all right. Here's what I tell
Just backyard
people.
Ball, mostly.
Here's what I tell people: if you play sports, it teaches you so much about life.
Yeah, I think so. And I've had to try to learn through the years because from all the people I sit next to, and especially we've got the greatest analysts right now with the Pirates, and that's what's so fun is that these guys play the game at the highest level, and so I can sit next to them and ask them questions, and I can understand better. You can never really replicate.
It gives you a great perspective on it, right?
Yeah.
And you were going to say something about your grandfather?
Oh, my great-grandparents, great-grandmothers and great-grandfather.
Yeah.
They watched baseball when I was a kid. So
that is so cool.
I was very lucky to have them in my life as a young boy. So they were watching and listening to games, and so that got me, beyond the stats, then into watching the games, and then they explained what was happening.
It got the personalization of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and then I got to start going to some games. Lucky to grow up in a major league
going
city.
to Tiger Stadium. Come on.
So that all kind of started to come together about that time. Yeah.
Well, where'd you go to school at?
I went to Michigan State.
Okay.
So I stayed in my home state, and then, as this works out in this business, you have to work where the jobs are.
You need an open mind.
Yeah, so I lived in 10 different states, and
Well, where'd you start then?
grew up in Michigan, and then moved to South Carolina, Minnesota, then moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and let's see, I'm going to probably miss one.
You're going cross country
Yeah,
pretty
Montana,
Oh, back again.
New Orleans, where I met my wife, who's from here. So that's
Right.
that's crazy, and then out to Los Angeles, Milwaukee, and here, and I think I'm
Let me
forgetting
interrupt
someone.
since you
Yeah.
threw Montana in.
Yeah.
What team was it in Montana?
I worked for Great Falls and Billings.
Get out. I've heard of Billings, but I didn't know about Great Falls.
Yeah, that was a White Sox affiliate at that time. This is about 15 years ago now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but
What a journey you had.
Yeah, but it's you love baseball, so you just kind of
Well,
do it.
here's one of the keys if you want to be on my show is you got to be passionate. I already found out Joe's passionate. Now, what degree did you get in college?
You talked about your background in newspaper.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to-
journalism degree, and I always talk about this whenever I get a chance to speak to schools.
You're speaking now. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Tell
I mean,
my
if
fans.
you're in school and you think about broadcasting, I would still pursue journalism because I think, when you can put together a story and whether I'm getting into technical stuff, but
No, go ahead.
Inverted pyramid, right? What's most important?
This is you.
First.
I'll make something up if you don't. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Most important first, and then down the line. And if you're calling the game, it's the same thing. What just happened?
Well, there's a
and what-
process.
Yeah. News reporting. I think that's so important. If you can cover a sad event like a family's home burning to the ground, and you're there and you
Right.
have to talk to the family as it's happening, and then talk to the police and the fire department. What's happening here? What has happened? And get that information and write a story about it on deadline.
No, I appreciate you
know.
saying that. Working in a newspaper, I knew a lot of people because everybody knows I talk to everybody. So I knew reporters, I knew sports writers, I knew editors, and they would tell me all these different things. So what I always wanted to own was a monthly newspaper back when they were popular. I thought it was so cool. I could control it, put my own positive spin on stuff.
Yeah.
Because newspapers go with the negative type stories and, to sell the papers. And even with media today, it's all about the clicks and all that stuff. But there are some positive things out there, and I look for it daily.
Yeah, and I think that's why I gravitated towards sports because no one wants to be by a family that just lost their home. But I use that as
Not consistently.
No, but that's an example of hey, if you can deal with that, then as weird things happen in the sports world, you can. And remember, we're on the air live. I mean, we're on radio or television live, and sometimes things are happening, and you have to think, okay, do I say this or how do I say this right now? Because a lot of people are paying attention to what you're hanging on your words
Right.
here, and you can't mess it up.
Well,
So,
then you made it to my show where I do every show like it's a live edition. We're family friendly, and we don't cut. We got a 29-minute show, and you're doing great. Because I like
how much time we got left?
we got 21 minutes. So far I let you out talk the talking machine. So you're on pace.
Right.
And no, I appreciate that because what it shows to me that you have an open mind. Anybody that's a reporter, I won't say they're all smart, but they have to be quick-witted. And you have to think of what you want to say. And then here's what the curveball is, being a baseball guy like we are. It comes back when they say something and it might surprise you why they said it. Now you have to counter that with a question that's off of your list, right? And I'm sure you've done that many times, even interviewing people now with the Pirates.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of situations that.
How do you handle it?
What if there's an injury that takes place, and or if you know something that isn't public knowledge, and how are you going to deal with that as it takes place? Or sometimes,
Or maybe you have to wait when telling some of the stuff that's not public knowledge.
Right.
Like you can't tell for a month.
yeah, or how do you say it in a way that's still, because people deserve to know what's going on, but you also have to think about, okay, well, you work for the team. In my
Well, we
case,
all work for somebody, so
Right.
what I say, we have to go by their rules, but then I always look for, I'll share this, the gray area.
Sure, and that's exactly our job. I think that's how I view it, at least.
Well,
So-
that's why I'm honored to have you on my show
Yeah.
as a fellow broadcaster, a true professional doing this, traveling the country from center of America to east and then west coast. You covered the coast.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love. I mean, this time of year, I love being at home. Like you said, we live here in Bethel Park, and
Yeah.
it's just we love making our
Great
home here.
community, by the way.
Oh,
here.
it is.
Thank you to Bethel Park for having BPTV and helping me to win 29 awards.
29.
Yes, I'm not just a talking head. So
An award-winning talking head,
yes,
multiple times.
no,
Yeah.
in the minor leagues, what was one of your favorite memories of the minor leagues?
I just had breakfast today with a buddy of mine from Montana.
There we
who's in
go.
town.
I'm glad I brought Montana.
So we were talking about some stories and really just standing around the batting cage, talking with people about baseball, and it's a little simpler. We were lamenting about, when you get to calling major league games or being around Major League Baseball, it's the best players in the world, but also everyone's a little bit more uptight. There's more at stake. You got to win the games.
Right,
It's
right.
so important. In the minor leagues, you don't have to win. It's fine.
You're there because you want to get to the major
You
leagues.
want to get there. So
It's a process.
Yes.
Another process.
everyone talks about where you stayed out late last night, maybe that kind of thing,
And other stuff.
and other stuff.
I was young once.
Yeah,
I
right.
wasn't always this old.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
Yes.
I have to use that.
You
sometime.
can steal my line. I
Yeah.
tell people I've never been this old before, and as we keep talking, I'm getting older. And it's hilarious, right?
Now that I think about it, yeah, that is. Yeah, but it's just stuff like that. Just enjoying the game of baseball and just
Right.
being relaxed and I love that kind of stuff about being in the minor leagues.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, and then seeing different parts of the country that I never thought I'd see. I mean, working in Montana, I got to see Idaho.
Well, you were in
and-
Detroit, otherwise
Yeah.
known as Murder City, but
Well, I never committed any.
Okay,
so,
thank
yeah.
you. I had to just clarify that
Yeah.
before we went too deep. We're only 12 minutes in, so got that out of the way. No,
Everyone
we're
was
good.
wondering.
Yeah, and where did you live? Did you rent? Did you own a house?
Always
or even
renting.
think about it?
This
Yeah.
is the one and only house we've ever owned is here in Bethel, and my wife grew up in South Park, so we
Yeah, that's
we,
neighbors of us.
Yeah, just on the other side of 88 from where we're at. So, but we all wanted to come back here, and it was so fortunate.
And
that-
raise a family.
Yeah, the Pirates job opened up right as we were having our first child. So our kids were all born. We have 3 kids. They're all born here.
Say hi to your wife and kids.
Hi Beth, hi Nancy, Mary Claire, and Zeke, if you're still up. Yeah, and then we got married here, and it just all kind of came together that we got to spend the rest of our lives here. So that's wonderful, and we
No.
love this community too. I mean, I can't claim to have known much about it before we moved here, but we did our
Sure, you
homework.
were in Montana. Come on.
Yeah, we did our homework, and we thought this was the community we wanted to live in, and we're really glad we have.
No, it truly
So,
is. There's great people here.
Yeah.
We've had great teams. I just filmed the back-to-back 5A baseball Blackhawk champions.
That's neat,
I was
isn't
there
it?
at Penn State.
Yeah.
They even wanted me to jump in the dog pile. That's how I friended them. I said, no, I'll wait.
Oh, that's great.
So, but yeah, look at our football team just won a championship. So it ebbs and flows.
It's really neat, and we're thinking, our kids are younger; they're not playing sports
Great
yet.
school
but
district.
Great school district, yeah, absolutely. And this, getting to learn more about the community from BPTV, especially in
Yeah.
2020.
Shout
That's
out
why
to Dave Cable putting
can't wait to meet you,
500
Dave.
plus- Yes.
Come on by sometime.
He's not here today.
Yeah,
but-
like where are you at?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, he has a wife and 2 children too, who are happy to be in Bethel Park residents too.
Yeah, they got some time off. That's
Yeah,
okay.
and he's even coaching soccer right now.
Oh, is that right?
So yeah,
Oh, well,
he's expanding.
yeah, that's great. But it's especially in 2020. We're at home, and I just wanted to learn more about my community, and so it was neat to start watching some of the shows and
Yeah.
get to know who's around.
Well, I'll share the Speedy Gourmet, and now you're on the 39th Talking Machine show, and I have 800 shows on Pittsburgh Sportsline. So there's nobody stopping me. You talk about consistent or persistent, that's me. We'll just keep doing it. So we'll just carry on. So now you got to the Pirates. That had to be what your goal was, to be in the major leagues, being a broadcaster, right?
No doubt.
And you worked hard to get here.
Yeah, and I'd worked in Milwaukee prior to this. Worked for the Dodgers for a year. Worked in the NBA for 4 years.
Oh, the NBA. My dad was a great basketball referee who's in the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame.
Is that right?
He refereed City League championship games here, and he took little Alan with him.
I have a lot of respect for the officials because
Well-
no one ever cheers for them.
Well, like
you know?
I learned.
Oh, maybe you did.
Well, yeah, I had to. That's my dad, my hero. But he told me this. After he'd do games and stuff, and he'd go, "Hey, Alan, one thing I'll tell you. If you notice me during the game, I'm not doing my job."
That's a great
Think
point.
about that.
Yeah.
So now with referees and officials, umpires, and things like that, how about they're the center of attention? And look at the NFL
Yeah.
with they're blaming referees. I help coach my kids. People are always talking about umpires and referees and all this, and I go, hold on. You know, they're doing the job the best they can to help our kids.
Yeah.
And people miss that in this day and age.
Yeah, it's placing blame on others, and you know, it's a
And
thankless job.
Then aren't we all human?
Oh, sure.
Tell me somebody that doesn't make a
I try.
mistake.
Yeah, I try to bite my lip too, because I try to remember that they have such a tough job, and they do.
Yeah.
When I'm commenting, because
Well,
unless it's
spur of the moment, things can come up.
unless it's just a completely egregious miss, I try not to criticize, because it's a
Well,
really tough job. to do.
My dad was such a great official. Officials would call him up. He'd be in the bathroom for 3 or 4 hours, and we couldn't go. I had 3 sisters and a mother. They go, Alan, can you get Dad out? Coaches were calling him, and referees wanted his opinion of calls.
Wow.
That's how good he was. But guess what? He made mistakes.
Yeah.
And he'd tell a coach, hey, that's on me. You know, I won't do it again this game. He would tell them. And I was so proud of a dad being a young kid. You talk about impressionable. That's your hero. And he's telling a coach he made a mistake.
Yeah. Well, isn't that a great lesson to teach everybody?
I'm following it today.
Yeah. I mean, we all make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, so I mean
totally with you.
that's like tone it down about the refs and all that.
Yeah.
And what I learned playing football and baseball, like if the umpire called a ball, I'm throwing a strike right down the middle of the plate as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And I had a good fastball and
Yeah.
curveball, so I would. But you know, I know that umps missed calls.
Yeah.
You know, because that little black on the plate, I could hit those corners pretty good because I practiced all the time. And they'd miss it, but I never yelled at an umpire. I wanted to do better.
Yeah.
And I thought in sports, have the mentality that you overcome whatever they throw your way.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know?
great point. I wish every athlete thought that way too, especially
well-
our youth athletes.
Well, we need that.
Yeah.
And to me, the pressure and stress, when kids are playing t-ball, they think their kids are going to be in the major leagues. What is it, 2% or something, maybe get to the major leagues?
Oh, I don't know if it's
Yeah,
anywhere
but-
close to
yeah.
that. Yeah,
But
It's-
I'm just saying, you know, as
Yeah.
a point of
yeah.
access there.
Parents don't pressure your kids. Just go out and have fun. Yeah,
And let them learn the basics, how to play
make
with
friends.
others.
Go get ice cream.
Hey,
Yeah.
I remember getting pizza,
Yeah,
you know, because we won games.
yeah. Or even when you lose, sometimes the ice cream tastes good too.
Well, the ice cream did because that helped us. Yes, I will
Yeah.
bring that up because
Yeah.
it does help. So now, what was it like in the NBA then?
Well, I mean, I was, kind of getting started, but that's where I met my wife, was in New Orleans, and where I was working. And
Well, you're allowed to have other jobs besides a broadcaster, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I worked as I sold shoes. I worked as a
Get on.
chef.
You
not
were
a
like
chef,
Al
chef,
Bundy. You
cook.
were like Al Bundy.
Cook. I just said, I was thinking of your show, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
my
no, I was
sweetie
not a
gourmet.
chef. Like, you're a chef.
You
No,
were
I
a
was
prepper.
a cook. I was a prep cook. Yeah, but things like that.
Yeah, so you sold shoes.
Yeah, just a bunch of.
And what did you do in
wash
stations?
dishes and, yeah.
Did you do work like you were saying, like Nick, with camera
Yeah.
and broadcasting? And
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. I mean, that's how I got my start in broadcasting, was in public access. I thought I was working in Roseville, Michigan, for Continental Cablevision, CTV.
There we
11.
go. Shout
Sorry to
out.
mention a rival company.
No, we're okay. Here's
They
what
don't
I,
exist anymore.
No, here's what I tell people. Like, I don't care if you don't like the Steelers, the Pirates, or Penguins. We all had favorite teams.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, the Steelers were same old Steelers. I liked the Packers in the 60s.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Right? Hall
Yeah.
of Famers, winning
Yeah.
teams, Lombardi.
Yeah.
So, but
what-
you can like whoever you want, whatever station you're with.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they
but
don't.
you had to
exist
start
anymore.
somewhere.
Yeah. I don't think there's Continental Cable anymore. But
All of them got bought up or out of business.
it was great. I was 15 years old, 16 the next year, and
Yeah.
for 2 years, we did a show about our high school sports, and we would
Oh,
me
you're
and another
kidding.
guy.
With you loving sports.
Yeah, we would talk about our high school team. We would have guests on, it's just people in our class. Come on over. We would take the camera down, and this is back in the old days where the cameras,
Yeah, the big camera.
Big camera. You had to set up the tripod. It weighed twice as much as I did. And,
Yeah, you are a little thin.
Yeah, it really did, I think, weigh twice as much as me. And we'd record, a little bit of a track
How
meet
long
or
of a
something like
show?
that. half an hour show.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, and we would do that, and they would give us free rein to, try some new things out. And some things flopped, and some things were good. But it made me start to understand the dynamics of television and broadcasting, and you have to have content and
Yes.
something that people want to watch.
Right, because one of the questions people ask me, even some of my other producers, they go, Al, we know you got lots of great friends. How do you get such great guests? I go, I have great friends.
Yeah.
So my new friend here is Joe Block.
Yeah, and you're so easy to talk to. I think.
Thank you.
And I think that's what's so fun about it. Just we hadn't met before a little bit ago, and we're just talking like we're old friends. That's
Well,
great.
this is what people tell us, that they go, hey, Al, it's like spying on guys at a bar.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
told me that.
It's
They
missing
go,
one thing. I can't think of what it is right now, though.
that's okay. It'll come back. We got.
I hope it'll come back.
We got 8 minutes. We got 8 minutes. But now I got you talking about your own show. What did you call the show?
The Sports Page.
I like it.
So that was our show, and we just got to talk
2
about
years you did it.
2 years. My last 2 years of high school with Ryan Belfry and Dan Cox, our graphics guy, and our
Nice.
cameraman, and we all pitched in. We all learned the different
You did it
parts
all
of the
because you're
trade.
working at public access cable.
Yeah, and it's great. And one of the camera operators, he was kind of like the Dave Cable. He was
Yeah.
running the thing, and then he came over and helped us on camera just because he's a nice guy.
The little tweaks, yeah.
Now he does camera for Bally's Detroit, doing Tigers and Red Wings games and Pistons
cool
games.
is
and stuff.
that?
So I get to see him every year when we go to Detroit. So it's really neat that his name's Tom Hughes, and he
Thanks
helped
for
us
the
out.
shout out.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
putting
I'm-
people's names out, because anybody can watch this show. All our shows are up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're on BPTV about 7 different times. We'll have to give you a schedule, so when you're talking to your kids in the morning, they can do that. So it won't
That's
be
great.
too late for them.
That's perfect.
We'll try to arrange 1 or 2 like that for you. But no, that's a cool story. That's why I like getting these things out of people, because look at behind the scenes.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
look
wonderful.
what we've done.
Yeah, and
And
you were
look
asking
what you've done.
Well, you were asking earlier about coming here to Pittsburgh, and my wife and I were sobbing because we were thinking to ourselves, what I was doing for a living is so neat, right? But
Yeah.
we wanted to live here. We wanted to raise our kids here, and I made a promise. I said, by the time our kids go to school, we're living in Pittsburgh no matter what, and I'll have to quit my job and get a normal person's job. I'm like,
no.
I'm not gonna have to go back to
Selling shoes.
cook it or selling
Cooking.
shoes, which there's nothing wrong with it. But when you got a gig like I've had, you kind of want to keep it. So thank goodness it all
Well,
worked out.
here's what I do. I thank God
Yeah.
for the path that He gives us, and I always want Him to tell me what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've lived 7 different lives with all the different things, and this is my latest
Mm-hmm.
life, for the past 11 years. So it's just cool, and for you to be able to do that and wanting to come here and getting the job, I look above. That's who got you the
Oh,
job.
we think the same way too,
Yeah.
and it's really a miracle for us because our kids obviously they've grown up loving it too, and I have too. I've really made this my home. It doesn't feel like it's just
a
a place
great-
we've lived.
It's a
this
great
is our
community.
home and always will.
Yeah,
be.
it's a great community.
Yeah.
A lot of great people, and just have a lot of fun, and it's just good stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I got to ask during the season, we got to talk about that. How stressful life-wise is it? Because here's why. When you think of 162 games as an athlete, that's something you got to prepare and stay in shape. But what do you do to stay in shape, keep the voice lubricated for 162 games, plus the hours that you put in before and after?
Yeah, there's a lot of prep work that goes in, and just sleeping and trying to get your rest,
Get a
and
routine.
get some exercise in, try to eat somewhat right,
Healthy, yeah.
Yeah, try not to stay up late and talk about the game too often. Once in a while is okay. With
but
the
playing
guys.
sports, I
Yeah.
always love the after the talk with the other players
Oh, no doubt.
and coaches,
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
because you
have
get
that.
you get good nuggets
Oh, sure.
from there that you
Yeah.
can put out for whenever.
Yeah.
Just imagine the stories when you got some dead time. You can bring up one of those stories.
And I think, anybody that listens and watches the games, they know that I love stats and I love talking about that. But I never want to make that the top thing that we talk about, because so much of the game is not that. It's just like you said.
Right.
You talk with the people that are involved, and that's what I do. Is I want to talk to the manager and the coaches and the players, not only on our team but on the other team too. What is everyone thinking? What is everyone feeling and talking about themselves?
Well, you hit one of the questions I always think. Like when you see a great athlete or something, he makes a play, I want to know, what were you thinking before that?
Yeah.
Like
what led you to do that?
Yeah.
You know,
and like
because you just did something amazing. How did you do that?
No, and it's amazing when you talk to him. Like I'm friends with Franco Harris. Jim Mudcat Grant was a friend of mine. I had him on one of my shows at the Sips Sports Bar in Dormont. He was a great guest. And I told him, I go, hey, Jim, I got one of your cards. He goes, hey, I'm not that old. He was a character, and he told great stories and just a great guy.
That's neat.
I've met other, Steelers over the years and people, and, it's just, you see they're real people. And that's the thing, because everybody holds all these people up on a pedestal. Some of them shouldn't be. I'll share that. Others have earned it.
Yeah, and I've had a hard time kind of dealing with that once in a while, because someone will stop me, and I'm over at Evie's or something, and so it'll be like, hey, and ask me a question, and I don't think that someone would recognize me that I don't recognize. I still haven't gotten used to that happening.
My best friend, Andy Armrein's a producer, and he owns Evie.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Just say now you met the talking machine.
Next time I see him.
You do. Just tell him that, and he'll laugh. So
I like that.
That's a connection. We're doing that.
Okay.
But no, it's so cool, Ron. Bethel, I'll go to Aldi's, and I got old ladies go, what are you cooking next?
Oh, that's great.
And I got a couple older guys, in their 80s, because I've asked them, and they go, I watch your sports line every week.
Oh, that's neat.
And thanks for being a fan. So thanks all of you for watching this. And we're having fun. We got about 2 minutes to wind down. Do you have any advice for somebody to follow in your footsteps? Because I'm honored to have you on this show. And I think it's so cool to be a broadcaster. I met Nellie King.
That's neat.
I met Bob Prince back in the day. Wow. And Nellie King was one of the nicest, gentle giants you could meet. Big, tall
His daughter
guy.
Amy is one of our camera operators. And
well,
she's awesome. And I never got to meet Nellie King. But
you tell her that this Al Levine met your dad at an event, and he was signing. And I'm always a talker. He talked to me for 10 minutes.
Oh.
It was so great because
I wish I could have met him. Yeah.
Just a great man, truly. Well, if you got Amy, she got to be great too.
She's really great. Yeah. I would just say, anything that you do, whether it's going into sports broadcasting, which is challenging because there's only so many jobs and everyone wants to do it.
It's limited.
But whatever you want to do, you got to be relentless, passionate. You use that word. I think that's important.
Yes.
And really just think about what you want to do and go after it with all your might. Because if you don't, someone else might be giving it their best and pass you up. And it's one of those businesses and fields that you really do have to.
Well, before we end, that's great advice. What was your thought process as you got involved in it? Did you always think, what's next? Or where am I going to go next? Or did that not happen? It just came about organically with opportunities.
I think for the most part, I would be thinking about what's next until I came here. I knew
Thank you so much.
I'm like, put in the stakes. We're done. This is great. This is the dream has come true. So, but yeah, I think for the most part, you have to kind of think about that as you go along, for sure.
Right.
In this business at least.
And you keep your ears open to listen for opportunities and stuff, right?
Oh, I had to. Yeah.
And you make connections. It's all about networking and dealing with people. And I try to be a great networker and get compliments about it. Because my mind's open. I don't care who or what you are or what color, creed, or whatever.
Yeah.
We can be friends.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
No doubt. I totally agree with you on that.
Well, my new friend Joe Block, pirate broadcaster, thank you for being on the 39th Talking Machine show. I'm going to close it out. Thanks to all of you for watching my shows. We'll carry on with our 40th show coming up in December. Thank you so much for the great feedback.